Moving, shh. That's my kindergarten teacher teaching me that. But anyway, we want to have everyone eat up as quickly as you can. In about 8 minutes, I'm going to introduce Chuck, because we need to be back in our sessions. And so in order to do that, we need to follow the schedule. I would like to say that we've had a number of people had to leave to catch flights. Good afternoon. Shh. All right. I'm going to start. Please eat quietly. Before I introduce Chuck, I want to do a couple things quickly as a prerogative of chairing, and that is I would like, I hope they're in the room, all of the E&C Authority staff to please stand. Okay, everyone, please stand. These are the folks that have done all the work for the E&C Authority over the last 10 years. And they're the ones who get credit for all that we're doing, along with all the citizens in the state who have worked with us and the businesses who've helped North Carolina move ahead. And this particular conference, and Galen knows this if no one else does, without Shaheen, we would not be here. So Shaheen, I want you to stand up and get another hand. Come on, Shaheen Sayal. And I'd also like to ask Angie Bailey to stand up. She's been our assistant director, and she's been wonderful with all the work we've done. Thanks, Angie. I would like to say one other thing, and that in the room also today is the father of our home site, and that's Billy Ray Hall. Billy, if you'd stand up, please. Billy Ray is president of the Rural Center in North Carolina, the finest one in the country. And they have been our home for the last 10 years. You know, they're our fiscal agent. Although we're a state authority, we are a real hybrid. And without this particular model, I don't think we would be where we are today. So thanks very much, Billy Ray. We appreciate it very much. To get the conference video, you need to go to the RTC homepage. Almost everyone has been taped. And at the RTC, you would go to ruraltelecon.org, and down at the bottom is a video link to see the YouTube conferences, okay? So we will put that on our website as well at www.e-nc.org so that you'll have a chance at home. One final thing is that our board, the Rural Telecom Board, has voted to next year to hold a conference, and it will be in Dallas as part of the Broadband Communities Conference in a partnership with them. They have a conference. Please write down April 24th, 25th, and 26th. And one of the days, usually it'll be the 25th, I think, Scott, right, will be the day that RTC holds a conference within that. And so everyone, please write those dates down and keep that in mind. And one more thing, if the RTC board would please stand up one more time. Galen, who's our esteemed chair from Arizona, all the other folks who are here from around, thanks. Well, today's keynote, we're going to have Charles Robinson, who is the Key Business Executive Business Support Services of the city of Charlotte, North Carolina, known to some of us as the greater state of Mecklenburg. That's sort of a funny inside joke in North Carolina. But anyway, Charles is the person that we all got to know who became the leader of the stealth application known as the Public Safety Interoperability application of BTOP, one that most of us didn't know what it was, didn't know there had one coming, didn't know you could apply for it, didn't know anything. And all of a sudden, we found out that Charlotte had gotten this substantial contract to be able to have a core of the new Public Safety Interoperable National Network. And today, the Board of RTC wanted to have you learn a little bit more about this, because I think it will become one of the most important networks that we have, along with our work with the U.S. UCAN, of which Mark Johnson is here today, and many of you, I hope, know him. Mark, would you stand so they see you as well? This is the big, huge contract that will connect all the community anchor institutions, and Mark is out here. So you have the anchor institutions, and you have Public Safety Interoperable Network. So North Carolina is well positioned there, it looks like. Anyway, he's responsible for everything in Charlotte, from engineering and property management, the key business unit. He's also involved in making sure this project comes off well, as it will have to deal a lot probably with the convention in Charlotte coming up. And so we're hoping that you will get a chance to learn more about this today from Chuck, and keep in touch with him if you'd like to. He did receive his degrees in Michigan, both his undergraduate and his master's degrees there, and he's been a member of the American Management Association, and he served as on the Belmont Community Development Corporation's Board of Directors, where he serves as the treasurer and chairman of the board's program committee. We had a delightful time working with Chuck once we found out who he was and where he was. and so we're delighted to be watching this project of the Public Safety Interoperable Network. And you'll hear Chuck as he explains this to us, and have some questions if he's short on his speech, okay? You'll be able to ask some questions, and then we must get back in our sessions at 1:30. Chuck? Let's give him a hand.
Well, thank you. Before I get started with my presentation, there's a couple of confessions that I need to make. My first is that this is my first RTC conference, and I have to tell you that I've been very impressed with the conference and enjoyed it greatly. The quality of the speakers and the panels and the presenters has just been excellent. In fact, I approached Jane last night and I said, why am I here? You know, obviously I'm not in this league. I don't know why you've got me here. And she told me, don't worry about it, you'll do fine. And I hope that I will for you. The other confession that I have to make is that I've never been a keynote speaker before. And so I was really interested in doing this and learning something. And I learned something just walking from the chair up to the podium here just a second ago. And I've always had this question about, why do people applaud a speaker that they don't know before he says anything on the way up? Well, I've decided that it's to create as much performance anxiety as the audience can in the speaker. And I wanted to let you know that you guys have done a very good job today. So this afternoon, get my technology right. As everybody in this room knows, communications technology, innovation, and creation is really moving at light speed. And for the first time, public safety finds itself in a very unusual position. Instead of trying to catch up to this wave, we were finding ourselves on the foamy edge of this wave. And I'll talk a little bit about how we got there by talking about the public safety trends that got us to where we are today, the new models and new mindsets that are going to be necessary for public safety to capitalize on this wave, and then how rural broadband is important to the dissemination and spreading of this technology throughout America. Don't let this scare you. Like many areas of technology today, public safety communications is really on a line of convergence. And this is a diagram that's been produced by the Office of Emergency Communication within the Department of Homeland Security. And what it demonstrates is where we currently are today in public safety communications. That top green bar represents the land mobile radio system, which really is the base of critical voice communications for public safety today. And we have a problem in the LMR in that there are many disparate networks, there are many varying technologies on how LMR is produced across the country, and it really doesn't facilitate interoperability at a local level, much less a national level. The blue bar represents how we get our data. We get our data through commercial carrier networks primarily, second generation in some places, third, fourth generation technologies. We're just beginning with some commercial providers to upgrade to 4G systems. But we're beginning to transition now. Some years ago, the FCC set aside the 700 spectrum for public safety broadband, anticipating public safety moving to that area. And the focus, both at the federal level whether it's through regulatory agencies or departments and at the local level, has been how do we leverage broadband for public safety and delivering critical services to our citizenry when and where they're needed. This transition is now being facilitated by the BTOP program that's being administered by NTIA. And it really is forcing us to examine this transition and how we're going to make it in an orderly fashion. But to do that, public safety has really got to change its mindset about critical communication services and the models that they're currently using. How these systems are funded have got to change. How these systems are governed have got to change. How the technology is viewed has got to change. And that's going to require really folks getting together and looking at how do we leverage both the public safety networks that exist, the common carrier networks that exist, and the public safety broadband that we're building out nationally. At some point, and everybody thinks it's going to be somewhere in the next 10 years, what we're going to see is we're going to see the fourth generation, the LTE technology, really become the platform for public safety, both in critical voice and in critical data communications. Don't let this diagram scare you either. This is what interoperability looks like, and I think this is why public safety finds it so scary. What they're used to dealing with is in that bottom left-hand corner, and that's their LMR system. Well, now they're going to get this new animal, which is going to be their broadband system, and that's got to get connected somehow to the LMR system. But it doesn't all really work unless somehow you've got your mobile command centers and your operational support connected. And oh, by the way, the FBI is busy developing vertical applications that can be used for public safety throughout the country. And you're still going to have to roam, so you're going to need your common carrier networks connected. You're going to have visiting jurisdictions, so somehow they've got to be able to roam. It's a much different animal for public safety to get their heads wrapped around. And it's a very, very complicated interoperability network. Now, no one disputes the benefit of broadband technology to public safety. The challenge for public safety has been getting the quality of service level that public safety demands out of common carrier networks. That has really been the challenge. I mean, this was highlighted for everyone in the findings of the 9/11 Commission report around the need for national public safety broadband. And you don't have to look too far to find examples of that quality of service issue. In May of 2010, the city of Charlotte hosted a World Cup soccer match. Something happened about midway through the first period, and everybody in the stadium felt compelled to tweet, text, send a picture, call their buddy, and the cell tower that was adjacent to the stadium, which was hosting our mobile command center, went off the air. And so our mobile command center lost track of all its assets in the field, lost connectivity back to its home network. It was dead in the water, other than the critical voice network that they owned. And you can even look at more recent examples with the earthquake that we had on the West Coast. Now, you guys that are from the West Coast say that wasn't really an earthquake. Okay? But the impact was greater on the East Coast because the rocks here aren't near as loose as they are there. So this need for public safety to have a high level of service quality has really helped to generate the models that are in use today. I mean, the mindset for public safety is, if it's going to be reliable, I have to own it, I have to control it. And when we look forward, that can't be the way it works. What's happened with this I need to own it, I need to control it model is that they invest in technology, but because of the cost, they can't invest in the upkeep of that technology. So often, especially in smaller jurisdictions, they have old technology that hasn't been upgraded, they can't interoperate with other jurisdictions and other municipalities, and then when they do have to finally upgrade, because systems do go out, the cost of upgrading that is just astronomical because it hasn't been incrementally improved. And so what public safety is going to have to do is change from I have to own it to get the service that I want to I can get the service that I want, and here's where I get the service that I want. And so what's going to happen for public safety broadband to be successful is that we're going to have to develop a service model where public safety has a high reliance on the quality of service that they need when they need it in order to serve the public. I want to talk a little bit about the Charlotte experience. I'm not going to hold this up as the model because goodness knows we're not. We've got our own set of problems as it relates to interoperability. But Charlotte does have a history of shared networks and approaching things very differently. The reason why I'm here and not the police chief or the fire chief is because the police chief and the fire chief don't own the radio system. I provide a service to all of Mecklenburg County, all the jurisdictions of Mecklenburg County, and we are one of the largest consolidated radio systems in the country. Now, we're not one of the largest radio systems in the country, we're one of the largest consolidated radio systems in the country. I provide services to police, fire, medic, school bus drivers, the Department of Transportation, DSS caseworkers, anybody who needs critical voice communication reside on our network. And that has worked out for us very well because we've never lost focus of what the priority is, and that priority is public safety. My police chief counts on it, my fire chief counts on it, the EMS counts on it, and they know when they need it, it's going to be there. Because we have this history of providing almost 5-9 services. And what that means is that 99.99% plus of the time, anybody pushes that talk button on that radio, they're connected to who they need to be connected with. And that's critically important when lives hang in the balance. And every time there's a bump in the radio system, I get a call from one of those two chiefs who say, babies will die, you know, criminals will get away if I have another one of those 5-second bumps on the system. We just can't allow that. But the Charlotte model was really around how do we leverage infrastructure. We were spending a lot of money years ago on trying to keep up the radio system, and we just decided we can't do this anymore. So the city and county got together and said, we're going to have one radio system and one person is going to be responsible for it. And here's the quality of service that we're going to have. And if you don't deliver it, we're going to fire you. And that's pretty much what our interlocal agreement said. So we got busy to deliver that service. And it really grew from that point to where now not only do we have a countywide system, but we're growing that same system regionally. Part of that success has been around shared governance. In Mecklenburg County, we have what we call the Radio Communications Council. And those are representative from all my customers who come together once a month to talk about my performance, to talk about strategic issues with the radio system, and how to improve and make things better. And we're accountable to them. Every one of them. I mean, there's not a police chief or fire chief or volunteer fireman in the county that doesn't have my number, I don't think. And, you know, when things aren't just right, do not hesitate to give me a call. But I think this model overall has been successful because everybody has always understood the priority. It's public safety first. And because everybody understands that and agrees with it, they get the service they need when they need it. And when they can't get it, if you're the worker in CDOT, they understand when we roll them off the network why we've put them in a certain talk group at certain times. The big thing that has happened to us is cost advantage. I've been able to hold an almost flat radio rate now for about 6 years. And that's even as we have built out the P25 digital system. And the reason for that is our Radio Communications Council developed a 10-year strategic plan. We programmed the investments along a path, and we have a fixed maintenance rate, and the capital plan is all included. And we have one of the lowest per radio rates in the country. Have over 13,000 subscribers just in Mecklenburg County that help to pay for that network, and it keeps everybody's rates low. We're starting to expand this network, and it's been real important for us to do that because it helps save my customers money. You know, it's a different business model for us in the public sector. It's not about making money, it's about saving money, and we try to do that at every turn. We have a neighboring county, Union County, who had a UHF system that was falling apart that wanted to get into the digital 800 radio system. They couldn't get any licenses to do it. We had some licenses we weren't using. We said, let's make a deal. So we gave them the 800 spectrum licenses that they needed to get on the air. We asked them, we told them in return we wanted them to connect to our zone controller, which is really the brains of the network. It saved them $1 million because they didn't have to go buy a zone controller. They paid us the money to be on that zone controller, which drove down the radio rates for all my customers. We're currently in negotiations with Cabarrus County, same type of arrangement, helping them to upgrade their system, at the same time helping to keep costs low for everyone. And I think this is the model that's really going to be important as we talk about broadband and how do we roll broadband out nationally. Now a little bit about the grant, and I'll put this up there, the Stealth Project. What really happened was we had submitted a round 2 request like a lot of people submitted. And then we got this call that said, do you think you could sustain a public safety only network? And we said, well, we'll look at that. So we went back and crunched some numbers and we said, yeah, we think we can do that. They said, well, resubmit your grant and strip out all that anchor institution stuff, and all you got to do is public safety, and we'll consider your grant. So we did that. They considered it. We got the award. We accepted it in September, and and we've been excited about it ever since. It's had its ups and downs. I won't lie to you, but this is what it looks like nationally. Our project is a $21 million project. 16.7 million of that is coming through BTOP funds. 4.4 is our match. And we're one of 7 jurisdictions nationally that were selected to roll out a public safety network. And we're very proud of the fact that we were the only municipality selected to do this. There were 3 states, the state of New Jersey, the state of Mississippi, and the state of New Mexico that were selected. There was 1 county, Adams County, Colorado, and that's the county where Denver International Airport is. And then there were 2 authorities that were selected. LA RICS, which is the Los Angeles Radio Interoperability Center, which has the city of LA County, Orange County, a number of municipalities that have come together as an authority. And then the San Francisco Bay Area UASI, and UASI stands for Urban Area Security Initiative. And that's a really unique one there, because Motorola actually got the grant to build that network, but the ultimate infrastructure owner is going to be the Bay Area UASI. I hope you can identify what's really interesting about this map. Is that NTIA funded coast to coast evolved packet cores, and that's very important. Okay, inside of the funding, there's enough funding there from somewhere between 7 and 10 evolved packet cores. Can anybody guess how much Verizon, how many cores Verizon is going to use in the build out of their national network? The Verizon gentleman doesn't get to answer this question. Nationally, Verizon will build somewhere between 4 and 6 cores to handle the millions of calls that Verizon will handle in a 4G network. So we have more than enough EPC cores for the national network already funded, already being deployed. Talk a little bit about the Charlotte BTOP project, and I'm going to talk about it in terms of challenges, because I'll tell you it's been a very big challenge. The first one is government experience in this space. I mean, there's just not a lot of government experience in the design, development, and operation of broadband networks. I mean, there are a couple of exceptions. The city of New York, the National Capital Region have built EVDO systems that are up and managed, and they're doing a lot of that through vendors. Specific to Charlotte, we had to overcome a sustainability problem. I told you that we did our little numbers drill and that we got awarded the grant. Well, we went to the award conference a month and a half after we got the grant, and then we were told that 3.9 million of our 4 million match wasn't going to be allowed. And so we ran into that problem. And then the FCC said, oh, by the way, public safety means only police, fire, and medic services. And so we got into a sustainability problem real quick. And then we had this grant performance period. None of these projects were really shovel ready. I am now 14 months into my grant cycle, and I haven't hung an antenna. I haven't built an antenna. So we're a little bit nervous about that, but we think we're on a really good path now. And the regulatory environment's really been very, very fluid on us. The FCC, God bless them. I'm not going to bad talk the FCC. They've done a lot of great things to try and facilitate this network. They formed the Emergency Responder Interoperability Center to really help wrestle the issues of interoperability for public safety. But their definition of who can use this network makes them almost unsustainable. The City of Charlotte requested a declaratory ruling that got great support nationally to expand that to secondary responders. The FCC, in its judgment, declined to make a declaratory ruling, but did give us some additional definition that I feel helped us to reach a level of sustainability. The other thing is last December, the FCC said, oh, by the way, BTOP awardees, build your networks, but we haven't decided what all the interoperability standards are going to be, but you're going to be required to meet them when your network comes up on the air. Well, that's just a big dollar sign, you know, because you're building something, you're rolling it out now, but you don't know what the standard is. And so the vendors that we're dealing with, you know, don't want to buy into that dollar sign, and so that dollar sign becomes our own. So been some real challenges, but the high point has been movement around Senate Bill 911 that's been talked about in this conference and its companion in the House. This is viewed by the members of the Public Safety Spectrum Trust as the best model for advancing public safety broadband nationally. It creates a national public safety broadband corporation. It has funding for R&D, and this is really important. I did not know this, and there's people in the room that correct me if I get the number wrong, but the United States only represents about 6% of the worldwide mobility market. It's a small number. I was shocked when I learned that. And you've got to remember that public safety is a really small percentage of that 6%. So there's not a lot of development for public safety broadband end user equipment. I mean, it's just not out there. And so without some kind of R&D funding stream to develop those devices, we'll have a really great network and nothing to use it with. So research and development for public safety devices is a very critical thing going forward. The other thing is just, this is bleeding edge technology. I mean, it's just being rolled out commercially. The commercial sector is having their own set of problems with it. We're having our own set of problems with it. You know, a year ago I couldn't spell LTE, now I am one kind of thing. It's just been a real challenge. And the other thing is the device thing I was just talking about. There is not a public safety spectrum, 700 spectrum device that I can buy today. It's not there. But I'm deploying this network. And my police chief and fire chief expect me to have devices on a network the 30th of June this year so they can do all their testing for the DNC. So a few challenges with this that we're working our way through. But there's great support on this. I can't say enough about the folks that have worked with us. The 9/11 Commission, of course, really set the standard about what we needed to do around this. The FCC, God bless them, you know, are doing the best that they can, but they're a regulatory agency, which always scares everybody, and it scares me too now that I'm going to be a service provider in that realm. But they are doing great things to try and help us. The White House support has just been amazing. This has been a top priority for Vice President Biden, who's spoken on a number of occasions, have really worked hard to pull together the Department of Homeland Security and Justice and Commerce and all of these folks to come together about how do we make this happen for public safety. And then, of course, Vice President Biden has been a champion with Congress as well in moving the legislation that we think is the best foot forward for public safety and expansion of the network. Your role, and believe me, rural telecoms have a very important role to play in the expansion of these networks. The challenge is going to be getting folks connected to gateways. Now, I talked about, you know, that there were 7 to 10 cores funded. Charlotte has elected not to put in an EPC core. We are actually going to have a hosted solution. Alcatel-Lucent is going to host the EPC core for us. We're going to own the service gateway and all the ENOBs, the antennas associated with it. But we decided that we just weren't in the EPC core business. We didn't want to maintain the technology and those kinds of things. And I think in the end it's going to turn out to be a smart decision because we're going to be able to demonstrate how to roll out the national network through this process. So getting back to a service gateway or an EPC core is how this is going to get expanded for public safety and other government services in rural areas getting connected back to the national network. So having that backhaul is going to be very, very important. I think the work that Russ is doing with the BTOP program is very important to this and offers a great leveraging opportunity to get these communities connected. Providers really need to look at just a couple of things, you know. How do I support what's happened nationally to make sure that I'm positioning the communities I serve to get connected and stay connected to the National Public Safety Network? I think, you know, planning those partnerships and really investing in understanding what is that quality of public service? How do I best provide that quality of service? Because if it gets back to what the speaker this morning said, that trust of is that network going to be there when my community needs it is a huge barrier to overcome with public safety. So I think these are, in my view at least, you know, some of the things that I think that the members of RTC can do to help advance this network overall. And with that, my remarks, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Yes.
The sharing of resources, i.e. vertical right-of-way, between the public and private sector is one of the, probably one of the cost-saving, stand up, the sharing of public resources, especially vertical right-of-way, is one of the, shall we say, principles that we have to live by given limited resources.
Right.
But what happens in the private sector, or what happens to our citizens out there, is all of the dollars are taken up by the government entities that they build a silo. And the silo goes all the way from infrastructure, base infrastructure, right away, all the way through bands of the spectrum, all the way to the top, and nobody can get on it. So, does this plan, are you envisioning to have private sector, citizen, shall we say, distributed, at least hosting or sharing of the resource of the vertical right-of-way, the towers? And are you also going to be using the backbone and help the private sector build out their own backbone with your needs for backbone? Now, you can do all kinds of security and cyber detection just by isolating lines, but sometimes the public safety folks, the ones who wear guns and badges, they want to be completely independent and don't even want to have the same conduit. Now, so the sharing is, and now at this basic level is very important. So what's your concept for what's going to happen in Charlotte? How will it help the private sector and citizens?
That's a really good question. The system that we're building is a highly leveraged public-private partnership. I may end up building one new antenna out of the 39 that we'll be using. We're going to be leasing tower space from Crown Castle for about 31 of our antennas, and we'll be building on some of our existing. And so there's not going to be a lot of that. Now, Charlotte already does have, you know, private sector work on the antennas that we own. We do lease space as any other tower provider would. As far as providing service, the public safety spectrum, the 700 spectrum, we are restricted from doing that at this point. Now, there are provisions in Senate Bill 911 that might open that up a little bit in its definition or redefining of the definition in the Federal Communications Act. In the state of North Carolina, I am prevented from providing services outside of government. So I can't, you know, the infrastructure that I build and those types of things really can't, I cannot charge for that to provide private sector services with. So we don't envision the network that we're building being used in that way. So what our methodology has really been to leverage both the private and public infrastructure that's already in place to its maximum advantage in order to advance our network. And I think that that's going to play out, again, as we deploy this network nationally and across our state. I think that the ring that MCNC is building around the state, would provide, through our service gateway, would provide, municipalities access to a gateway and to the national network. I think that's a very viable option that needs to be explored. So I think there's a couple of things that we can do around the backhaul and backbone. But as it relates to the spectrum, we're really restricted there.
I understood the spectrum, but radio towers and radio towers.
Right.
So I'm glad you're sharing 38 of 39 towers.
Right.
And are you going to share the 39 tower as far as space for other people?
On anything that we build, we're all about, sharing and making money. And so, yes, we will absolutely share. Yes. It doesn't at this time, and there are some device issues that we have to work through. Talk Around probably won't be available for about a couple of more years yet. I mean, it is on the standards list as far as what they're looking to build into the standards. And Talk Around is where you don't have to, you can talk device to device instead of going through the network. The PSCR, which is the Public Safety Center for Research, is actually, I think they're in Japan this week, trying to get the 3GPP folks to put a study group together to actually bring that standard in. So there's a lot of work by a lot of different organizations that are going into those types of activities so that broadband really can be, the answer for both voice and data for public safety. So it's an issue being worked. It's not available right now at all. That's a good question, too, because I get asked that regularly. Anything else that I can help anyone with? Yes, sir. Again, because of the spectrum, the question was, how are we working with the school systems to educate them on what we have available in the infrastructure and what it can provide? Again, there we're restricted from because of the spectrum, because this is a totally wireless network. And so we're restricted because of the spectrum of who we can allow in. Now, the school resource officers and everything will absolutely be on the network. But it's not something that I can open up to teachers and students and those types of things. University police will be on it, and we're trying to get that whole secondary responder level allowed, and the legislation that's working its way through Congress right now would allow us to expand that. But we would never be able to, get down to the student as far as the use of the network. Yes, sir. This is a reliability question. How do these systems stay up and running, when everything else, hurricanes and all this other stuff are crashing and burning them? They're highly redundant. They're expensive in order to develop that redundancy. And we have a number, and you try to back them up wherever you can. I mean, around the LMR, that was reasonably easy to do because, of the spectrum that you were using, the types of antennas on which we deployed, the type of antenna used, all of those things kind of facilitated, a good hardening of the infrastructure. That question is yet to get answered around cellular infrastructure. I mean, right now in the LMR, I use eight antennas to cover all of Mecklenburg County. I need 39 of those to do LTE for the same geographic area. I don't know how that's going to work out. One of the things that we have done, though, is we're using a combination of fiber and MPLS microwave backhaul, and the microwave backhauls redundant ring, to make sure that we maximize the availability and quality of service in the network. It's going to be tough. That's a scary thing for us. Well, thank you very much. I hope this has been informative, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Once again, we want to thank Chuck, and as we've done with the other keynoters, we have a product of innovation of artists that from North Carolina. This is pottery. We're giving to Chuck, and he told me they collect this stuff. So anyway, so this will add to his collection.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chuck. Let's give him another hand. Okay. So, Galen, do you have anything else you would?
I don't.
Okay, we're going to head to the next session at 1:30. Okay.
Yeah, we have a 10-minute break or a 12-minute break or whatever it is right now.
Yeah. Okay.